Those are all the top headlines that we are tracking at this hour, but let's get started with all the stocks that are buzzing in trade today. And for the second segment of the show, we are now joined by Osho Krishan, Senior Analyst, Technical and Derivative Research at Angel One. Osho, thank you so much for taking your time out and joining us here on ET Now. And Bank of India is the first stock that you picked for us this afternoon. Tell us, where do you see the stock headed?
Very good afternoon to both of you. Well, I have picked Bank of India because on technical front there has been very positive developments in the counter. Firstly, in the recent past or the past 2 months, there has been positive traction and there has been cycle of higher highs, higher lows in this counter. And currently the counter has taken support of 200 as simple moving average and have started gaining a strong traction also. So I'm expecting that after the fall from the zone of 130 towards 150 odd levels, now it is a very appropriate levels to start accumulating the counter. I am expecting that in the short term period, this counter has a potential to retest the target of 130, while on the lower end, support lies around the zone of 107 to 110.
110 to 107 will be the support level for Bank of India, but let's put the spotlight to the real estate sector then. Mahindra Lifespace is in focus today after the company launched premium residential project in Malad, Mumbai. This, remember, marks the beginning of company's redevelopment journey in the city of Mumbai. So on the back of this company's update that the company has informed the exchanges about, the stock is holding up with gains in excess of 1% in today's trading session. But Grasim Industries, let's also talk about this one. Osho, why have you picked up this stock and where do you see the stock headed from here on?
Over Grasim has seen a decent correction from the zone of nearly 2840 odd levels towards the zone of 2500 and have again started gaining a strong traction. So looking at the technical parameters, it is on the verge of giving a V-shaped recovery, which is very positive on the technical perspective. So I'm expecting that any breakthrough above the zone of 2800 can provide approximately 300 point of higher movement in the coming period. So I'm expecting a decent or very strong run in this counter from short to medium term perspective, and a break above or a breakthrough above the zone of 2800 can give a very strong boost in the coming period for the counter.
The stock is up nearly 8% over the last 3 months, but let's put the spotlight on Paytm Enterprises. Rabinder, I believe Motilal Oswal has come out with a report on this counter.
Well, as Piramal Enterprises is in focus, where Motilal Oswal has come out with a note and they have maintained their neutral rating with target price of rupees 1250. They say that the volatility in the earnings behind gradual improvement is ahead, and Piramal plans to reduce legacy wholesale loan book of rupees 70 billion to 35 to 40 billion over next year with no impact on the net worth. And Motilal anticipate greater earnings stability and the improved outlook going forward. Its returns metric remain modest with ROA and ROE estimate with 1.9% and 8.8% respectively for FY27. So back of this note, Piramal Enterprise is in focus and the stock is holding a gain of between 1 to 2%.
Okay, so the stock is holding up with gains of nearly 1.5% as we speak. But let's put the spotlight on Hindalco then. It is trading at about 668 currently and it's up nearly 4% over the last 5 trading sessions. Osho, where do you see the stock headed? 700 on the cards in the near future, is it?
Overall, there has been a very strong consolidation in this counter from the last 2 trading weeks. The broader range is near about 630 to 670 kind of a zone. So I'm expecting that from here onwards, there is a high potential for the counter to test the zone of 690 to 700 in the very short term perspective. So yes, I'm expecting a breakout from the consolidation zone in this counter. And on the higher end, the next potential target will be nearly 700. And once it surpasses the zone of 700, then again we need to review that whether the momentum still remains in the counter or whether it fizzles out. But as of now, it is at a very decent zone and one should try to accumulate at current levels for target of 700.
That's the view coming in on Hindalco with a target price of 700. But let's put the spotlight on crude related stocks because of the fall that we've seen in Brent crude overnight. Remember, Brent crude is now trading near that $69 per barrel mark. It is down over 4% today. It was down 7% in yesterday's trading session on account of reducing tensions in West Asia. So all of these oil marketing companies, the likes of BPCL, HPCL, IOCL continue to gain on the back of this news flow. But on the flip side, oil refiners, the likes of Oil India, ONGC and Vedanta get negatively impacted on account of the fall in crude oil prices. So the entire basket is in focus on account of the fall in crude prices that we have seen overnight. but Brent hovers below $70 per barrel as Israel confirms US temporary ceasefire. However, Iman Nasseri, Managing Director of Middle East Dubai FGE Nexent ECA, expects Brent to cross $100 per barrel if Iran and Israel conflict worsens, but adds that the fundamentals of the market continue to remain intact. Listen into what he had to say.
If you see de-escalation, which is some sort of a deal, ceasefire or a peace deal or end of this conflict in a rather sustained and certain way, then I think we're going to see the prices to go back below $70. Definitely when and if we see 20% of the oil supply and 25% of LNG supply to the world being interrupted by closure of Strait of Hormuz, we're talking about easily $100+, and you could go to $150 or more, depending on how severe. I do think that OPEC Plus will continue to do what they have been doing perfect for the past few years, to monitor the market and act on fundamentals, meaning that OPEC Plus is not going to change its course of actions due to the geopolitical risk premiums or where the price is heading. I think OPEC Plus, with about 5 to 6 million barrels per day of spare capacity right now, still is in driving seat. They have certainly been able to navigate the market very carefully and make sure that the fundamentals of the market are intact. We haven't seen a huge change in direction of inventories build or draw globally.
That's the view coming in on where oil prices are headed from here on. But let's put the spotlight on Paytm. And from the lows of 665, which the stock hit in the month of March this year, it has recovered significantly, currently trading at nearly 900 odd levels. Osho, where do you see the stock headed, and 1,000 on the cards in the near future?
See, overall, looking at the technical view of Paytm, then as you have mentioned that this financial year has been positive for the counter. There has been a positive traction also, and 900 being a very crucial zone, because we have witnessed a breakout from the zone of nearly 880 to 900 in the month of late May, and from there onwards we have seen a decent correction and retesting the same zone also. So historically, 50-day exponential moving average has tested very strongly and has provided very strong support for the counter, and once again the counter have started gaining traction from the same level. So I'm expecting that from here onwards it is an opportunity for investor to start accumulating the counter. On immediate basis, the first resistance is near about the zone of 950 to 960, which is also the bearish gap. But once it fulfills the bearish gap, then we can see a positive momentum coming back towards the zone of 1000. So on immediate basis, 950 is the first target, followed by 1000 from medium term point of view.
So 950 is the first target on Paytm, followed by 1000 for the medium term. That's the word coming in from Osho Krishan. But we need to slip into a very short break. But before we do that, Gautam Adani, the chairman of Adani Group, lays out the stellar financials for FY25 and expresses how the group's key objectives will help in taking India to greater heights. Let's listen into what he had to say.
In terms of consolidated numbers at the group level, revenues grew by 7%, EBITDA by 8.2%, and our net debt to EBITDA ratio remained healthy at a 2.6x. Total revenues were 2,71,664 crores, and our adjusted EBITDA was 89,806 crores. And as I have stated in the past, our objective is not to just build businesses. It is to create new possibilities, not just to serve markets, but to serve our nation's destiny, not to chase valuations, but build the valuations brick by brick. And in this context, our capital investment across businesses is set to break all records. We anticipate an annual capex spend of $15 to $20 billion for the next 5 years. These are not just investment in our group, but investment in the possibilities for doing our part to build India's infrastructure.
We discuss all the stocks that are buzzing in trade today, and Delhivery, that's the next stock in our list this afternoon. Rabinder, tell us what is the news flow over here?
Well, as Delhivery is in focus, where company has announced the expansion of Chandigarh Gateway Hub. The facility spread across 2.35 lakh square feet will accelerate the region's economic growth and create thousands of direct and indirect work opportunity. It will also empower thousands of businesses in the region, enabling them to access the nationwide market through improved inventory storage and order fulfillment capabilities. And apart from this, JM Financial has also come out with a note, and they have maintained the buy rating and hiked target price to rupees 480 as compared to earlier target price of rupees 380. They say that the e-commerce shipment growth to rise primarily driven by Meesho and discretionary demand, and they have raised standalone EPS revenue estimate by 0.5 to 1% over FY26 to 29. So back of this, both brokerage note and new expansion news, Delhivery is in focus, and the stock is holding a gain of more than 4%.
The stock is up a solid 4% on the back of this news piece and on the back of the expansion plans that the company has announced. But let's also put the spotlight on Titan then. Osho, the stock is trading at 3,516 odd levels. What levels do you see for this counter?
Overall, there has been a very positive development in Titan, specifically in the last trading week. The counter have taken support from the crucial support zone of 200-day simple moving average and have started gaining some decent traction. But looking at the recent development, it is on the verge of giving a sloping trendline breakout around the zone of nearly approximately the same levels, 35-40 odd levels. So from here onwards, I'm expecting that the counter can retest the zone of 3640 on very short term perspective, and once it breaches the zone of 3650, then another 200 point of rally can be seen. So at current levels, it is very risk reward is very much favorable for the counter, and one can look for buying opportunity for short term target of 3650 followed by 3800 kind of a zone.
Okay, so that's the view coming in on Titan. Rabinder and Osho, thanks so much for taking your time out and joining us here today and listing a whole host of stocks that are in focus based on news flow. But shifting focus then, think tanks are emerging as the unsung heroes of India's policy landscape, and their role is shaping our journey towards Viksit Bharat cannot be understated. On June 19, the Chintan Research Foundation, an independent think tank supported by Adani Group, marked its first foundation day with a powerful message. Think tanks must ask the hard questions and push for people-oriented public policy. The event saw ambassadors, bureaucrats, journalists, and industry leaders coming together, all united in recognizing how important institutions like the Chintan Research Foundation are for India's transformation. From climate change and energy transition to economic policy and geopolitical strategy, the Chintan Research Foundation is tackling issues that matter most to the citizens. What's particularly encouraging is the emphasis on collaboration, objectivity, and data-driven solutions. Let's hear what key speakers, Director of Adani Enterprises Pranav Adani, Niti Aayog CEO Amitabh Kant, and CRF President Shashir Priyadarshi had to say on this.
As planned, the CRF's research focuses on crucial issues like climate change, equitable energy transition, the evolving global economy, crucial supply chains and dynamic trade relations, and the overreaching geopolitics that shape the future of the world.
I believe that this Chintan Research Foundation has a very critical, very important, and a very significant role to play. If India has to become a Viksit Bharat, if India has to become a $30+ trillion economy, if India has to raise its growth to 9% per annum year after year, it will require Chintan Research Foundation to become one of India's key foundations, a key think tank, and guide India towards this very dynamic roadmap for the future.
Chintan, the name of the think tank, means reflection. Chintan is reflection, not the lazy kind that we do in hammocks, but the more kind that we probably do in offices. But we want this reflection to lead to action. The reflection must lead to action. Action that leads to meaningful change, and change that leads to people-centric development. So it's a cycle. We want Chintan to action, action to change, change to development.
And shifting focus then, the Bonn 2025 Climate Conference is underway, serving as a crucial mid-year checkpoint ahead of COP30. Geopolitical events casting a shadow over the talk, the Indian delegation expressed disappointment over the exclusion of climate finance and legal obligation of developed countries discussed from the Paris COP. The $100 billion pledged by developed countries to developing countries has remained a point of discussion for the past few COPs. On June 27th, key policymakers and leaders come together to discuss the climate finance responsibilities towards COP30 at the second edition of the Times Network India Climate Summit in New Delhi. And that's all the time we have on this edition of the show. Don't go anywhere, but stay tuned, more news and updates on the other side.